Well, welcome everybody. This is the first of our series on transfer opportunities at Virginia's private colleges. And we're joined today by two private colleges, Lynchburg and Randolph-Macon. And they're going to be providing some information about their institutions. Specifically, we have some guiding questions for them, and it'll be somewhat panel style. So what we'll be doing is I'm going to start by introducing myself and Emily Muniz. I'm going to tell you a bit about Transfer Virginia and the ways that the private colleges are participating, spoiler alert, very actively in Transfer Virginia. And then I'm going to show you the portal so that you're aware of where you can find some of this information and soon much more of this information. And then we're going to start asking our panelists some questions. If you have questions, you in the audience, if you all have questions while we're presenting, please feel free to put those questions into the chat. If they're questions specifically for Lynchburg or Randolph-Macon, our representatives, we have two representatives from each of those colleges, are welcome to have their answers there. If they're questions about transfer generally, Emily or I could answer them. So with that long preview of what we're doing today, let me introduce myself. I'm Nicole Hutchison, and I am the Director of Transfer for the Virginia Community College System. And I am very excited to have our four-year private colleges represented in this series so that we can make sure that our students and advisors from throughout the state know about the different transfer opportunities for our students completing their associate degrees. I'm joined by Emily. Emily, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Emily Muniz. I'm the Associate for Transfer and Talent Pathways at SCHEV. I was formerly the CVCC Transfer Counselor, so I'm happy to continue my work with transfer and happy to see you all here to learn more about what our private colleges in Virginia have to offer.
Thank you, Emily. And as you've all seen, we're recording this. There is no time that we will ever find and no day that we'll ever find where everybody is available. So I've gotten lots of requests from people to see from individuals wanting to see the recording, but we'll be disseminating this recording through the Transfer Advisors peer group and thinking about other ways that we can make sure that both students and advisors hear about our different colleges. So before we start asking questions of our representatives here from our two colleges, I want to tell you all a little bit about Transfer Virginia and how the private colleges are part of Transfer Virginia. You may have seen or heard of or in some way been aware of either Transfer Virginia or the portal. I'm going to just so that you're not looking at me and instead are looking at something more interesting. Share, this is our portal site. It's transfervirginia.org, and information about our private four-year colleges as well as our public four-year colleges is available on this site. Both of the colleges that are here today are working towards becoming full partners. And so you'll be seeing a whole lot more information about those two colleges on the Transfer Virginia portal in not too long. One of the parts of Transfer Virginia that I know all of our advisors are aware of, and probably most of our students are aware of, is that we have the Passport, which is a 16-credit transferable package, and the UCGS, the Uniform Certificate of General Studies, which is a 31 to 32 credit package. Both of those packages are transferable and they fulfill general education requirements at our four-year schools. Legislatively, our four-year public schools were all required to participate. So they were all told a few years ago, there's going to be this list of courses. When students have completed that list of courses, the 16 credit passport or the 31 to 32 credit Uniform Certificate of General Studies, you have to accept those as fulfilling general education requirements. 30, 15, 16 credits worth or 31 to 32 credits worth. That's what the publics were told they had to do. The privates were invited to do that. And the really, to me, important And notable thing is that our private colleges got on board pretty fast. Both Lynchburg and Randolph-Macon College accept the passport and the UCGS the same way that our public four-year colleges do. So I bring this up as just one example. They also accept the associate degree like our public four-year colleges do. I bring this up as an example to just illustrate to you all that the private colleges are a very real option for students in terms of course transferability and the pathway to a four-year bachelor's degree. With our guest panelists today, they're going to tell you more about some of the financial aspects and some of the additional programs that they offer. But these are really the reasons that we've organized this panel, to make sure that our students and our advisors are really aware of the opportunities available to them statewide. So with that, I'm going to ask first, Lynchburg University, will you all just introduce yourselves and names and also your roles at your institution, and then I'll ask the same of Randolph-Macon.
I can go first. I am Savannah Oxnard. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions here, and I work with our transfer and adult students. So I am the person reviewing all the applications and working with students and helping them to get kind of a first glance at what courses might transfer. And then I work with our registrar's office and with Christina Olson, who advises them once they come in. So Christina.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Olson. I am the Program and Advising Coordinator for Transfer and Commuter Initiatives here at University of Lynchburg. We love a long title here. But just like Savannah said, as soon as they go through the admission process with her, their next stop is me, and I review all of their courses with them. I'll work through any sort of substitutions we need to do, things like that, to make sure that they are onboarded here correctly with us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Christina. I think we all love long titles. I feel like I'm going to need to remain Director of Transfer forever because it is the shortest title I have ever had or will ever have. Brenda.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Brenda Pogendorf, and I'm Vice President for Enrollment Management at Randolph-Macon College. I've worked in higher education for over 40 years. I was a transfer coordinator at one time and am very friendly to this population. Our transfer coordinator, Gabe Rayner, could not be with us today, but he sends his greetings.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brenda. And are you on your own here today?
You know, it looks like it. After all the conversations with four of us, I think I'm the only one here.
Okay, well, I am positive you'll represent Randolph-Macon well. So Emily and I are going to take turns asking some questions. When we ask the questions, why don't we start with Lynchburg? You can answer first for that first question, and then Randolph-Macon, and we'll just go back and forth with each of the questions. We have 4 questions for you all today.
All right, so I'm going to get us started. So prospective transfer students, and we may have some in our audience today, they often worry about the cost of private colleges. That's kind of a myth, I think, that still holds true for some. And so how do you respond to that concern?
So I work with the students on the application side, and we award scholarships at the time that they're accepted. So I'll get started, and then if Christina has anything that she wants to add. But we do award scholarships at the University of Lynchburg. As long as we are going to admit you as a transfer student, you will be eligible. Our scholarships range from $12,000 to $18,000 for our transfer students based on their GPA at the time that they're accepted. And so we are able to reduce the cost a lot just with scholarships at the initial site. And then we do, of course, do Virginia Tuition Assistance Grant for Virginia residents who are able to come in and join us. And we work really hard to provide students based on their FAFSA with any additional aid that we can, but we don't make any promises to be able to meet full need, but we work really hard with students to be able to make education affordable. I'm not as up because I work with students at the on-site, and I know Christina is not in financial aid, but you may know more about scholarships that become available or grants and things that become available once they're here and ongoing students.
Yeah, so one of our biggest ones that we also offer past that is our Visual and Performing Arts Scholarship, which is a great opportunity. Maybe the student hasn't had a chance to really be in the music group anymore, be a part of the art program, be a part of theater, but they really want to pick that up again, we offer anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 per year for any of those opportunities as well. Does come with a couple of stipulations. For example, if you are part of the music side of things, you do have to take lessons, you do have to be in an ensemble, but again, get you back into a passion you may have had prior to your current time, get you a little additional money on the side to help you with your tuition here.
And I'll just add to that, they did a nice job of giving an overview. Randolph-Macon also awards merit scholarships at the time of admission, and they range all the way up to $30,000 per year. And then that, just to say again, because I think it's a big deal, the Virginia Tuition Assistance Grant, which offers $5,000 a year to any bona fide Virginia resident attending a private college full-time. That's a big deal. That's a great perk in our Commonwealth, and students would be eligible for that and notified of that too at the time of admission. And then the next step, of course, is filing the FAFSA, more institutional aid, as well as federal grants and loans and different types of aid. Work study would be there. Students may qualify for the federal Pell Grant. That's where that piece comes in that everyone hears so much about. And then there we also have some performing arts scholarships for students who want to share their talents with us, either in music, instrumental, vocal, or in theater or show choir, which we have a show choir. Let me just say I think this is really important because our published prices do scare students. And I just want to assure people that once you walk through the financial aid process and the admissions process, many times students are really surprised at how affordable it can be and how much in line our private college tuitions can be in comparison to the state schools. And so people just need to hang in there for a little bit until we can give them all of the information so they can make a good decision.
In asking the question, Emily used the word myth, and that's the word that we've used a lot when we've talked about the cost of college at the private colleges, that there is that idea, Brenda, that you referenced. Those numbers are terrifying when public college tuition is also terrifying. College tuition is high. And personally, it wasn't until my daughter was looking at colleges that I realized how similar the tuition ultimately was at private colleges compared to public colleges, and how often, because of the scholarships and opportunities at the private colleges, it can be less expensive at the private college than the public college. And I think that is a pervasive myth that I'm glad you all identified. So I want to then ask about academics specifically. So my next question, and I'm going to have Randolph-Macon start with this question, with responding to this question. But if you could tell us about a major or academic program or two that you think might be particularly interesting or appealing to a prospective transfer student. Many of our prospective transfer students are first-generation college students. They might not have a lot of connections to a wide range of colleges. So we would love to just hear some highlights about academic programs or majors at first Randolph-Macon and then Lynchburg that might be particularly interesting or appealing to transfer students.
Thank you. So Randolph-Macon has over 50 different programs of study, and transfer students are welcome in all of those programs. We would offer a transcript evaluation so they would know how closely their prior coursework aligns with our coursework for those particular degrees. That often helps students who are thinking about a couple of majors decide which direction to go. As I think about the ones that are most popular to the transfer student population, and they're by no means limited, accounting and business administration, cybersecurity would be among some of the top programs. We have many of the traditional liberal arts programs, and so majors at writing, English, history, psychology, philosophy, all of those. But we see many times students in the transfer population going towards some of those, like the business, for example. It's just a large major anyway. The only major we have that students cannot transfer into at this point because of our accreditation is our nursing program. We are hoping that after we are fully accredited next spring, that transfer students could also come into the nursing program.
Thank you, Brenda. What about Lynchburg?
Yes, so with Lynchburg, we also boast over 50 different major options, as well as a number of minors. Some of our more popular ones that transfer students tend to go towards are our majors in our College of Business, so accounting, finance, economics, general business administration. Some other popular ones have been exercise physiology. Students who complete anatomy and physiology and full associates can normally come in and complete that degree within 2 years. As well as now our nursing program has been created to be a 2-year program after associates, as long as the prerequisites have been completed at the community college. So that should be a more popular one now for our transfer students. Additionally, we do offer a direct pathway to our physical therapy and our physician's assistants programs. So we do see a lot of transfer students who like to go towards that pathway as well, either through exercise physiology, biology, or one of the similar majors there.
This is one of the things that both Randolph-Macon and Lynchburg University have been really working on, which is that 2+2 pathway that Christina mentioned, and making sure that students, while they're at the community college, can see what a 2+2 pathway can look like, both to traditional liberal arts majors and also to things like nursing.
All right. So in addition to academics, students are interested in about extracurricular programs. If you could share, 1 or 2 that you all have at your institutions that you'd encourage transfer students to consider, and how they would benefit and access those programs. And we'll start with Lynchburg this time.
Great, I can discuss that as well. So extracurriculars, we are a Greek life campus, so we do have a number of fraternities and sororities that transfer students can participate in. They can start joining those as soon as their first semester based off of their transfer GPAs. So we do encourage that and create that camaraderie and brother-sistership there. We do offer a number of clubs and organizations based off of majors as well. Our pre-health club for our pre-health majors. We do have a club for our business majors as well. I'm trying to find connections there. Some kind of out of the box ones. We do have an outdoor leadership program that we are getting off the ground right now. Definitely recommend looking into that. That will also get them their wildlife certification, I believe is what it's called. So if that's something that they are interested in, we do have that program working towards as well.
And for Randolph-Macon, we have very similar kinds of opportunities. We have the Greek life as well. Esports is very popular. We have a fabulous esports center for students to participate there. That's a growing interest. Show choir, which I mentioned earlier, and we have a wonderful new performing arts center, and all of our performing groups present there, and so students have many ways to get involved there. A symphony, the choir, as well as the show choir. We also have just 3 miles down the road an equestrian center, so students interested in that program would be able to come in. We have an especially large eventing program within the equestrian program, so that appeals to a small segment of students, but for those looking for it, it's a big deal. And then we have the leadership programs and that type of thing as well. I was going to mention the Division III athletics, but typically I don't know. We do have some transfer students who go into the Division III. That would be really important for us to get them connected to the coaches as early as possible in the process to make sure that they're connecting and syncing with what the teams need in terms of new talent.
Can I add something, Brenda, too? Hi, everybody.
Yes, this is Kim. You want to introduce yourself? Sorry.
Yes, I am so sorry. We have a candidate on campus, and the interview ran a little bit longer, so my apologies for being late. But my name is Kim Shank, and I am the Director of Admissions, and I work with Brenda. I would love to put a plug in here going off of what Brenda said about our fitness and wellness opportunities on campus. There are a tremendous amount of intramural opportunities. We like to say that a lot of our students, whether they were previous athletes and they're not playing a Division III sport, a lot of them do participate in our intramural programs. We do have a golf simulator. We do have a pool. Pickleball is a big intramural sport right now on campus that everybody is playing. We do have indoor racquetball courts and pickleball courts. They're actually turning one of our old tennis courts into an outdoor pickleball court. So there are a lot of opportunities aside from the research, the opportunities to go abroad during J term. I know that that's a very different opportunity that I'm sure Brenda touched upon, but we have a separate semester essentially in January that will provide you an opportunity to go abroad and get credit for that. And abroad doesn't necessarily mean outside of the country, but within the country as well. So those opportunities are there, but the fitness and wellness side of things is a very big part of our culture, I'd say. Just participating in something, there are classes offered to students as well.
So this is not a planned question, so just a heads up to our panelists. Going off of what you all were just talking about, and I can hear the range of really good extracurricular programs that are at both of your institutions. Is it hard for transfer students who haven't been there since, they weren't part of that first year student cohort? Is it hard for them to leap in and do things like study abroad or the leadership program or the wellness programs and this is a question for both institutions?
I'll go first on that one. It does, obviously, we need to get them connected, and their orientation to the campus may be a little bit different from a first-time student. But I think that I know there are many ways for them to be connected, whether they start in the spring semester or they start in the fall. We are very intentional about getting them involved, and they need to also speak up and tell us what their interests are so we can be sure to link them with the appropriate places on campus. But the orientation is designed to do that, and they have mentors who will work with them through the first semester of being here. And so we have 1,500 students, so it's not hard to get people connected when we know of interests.
And going off of what Brenda said, I'd say that the Edge Career Center is very intentional in their pathways that they work with students. So regardless of what year you come in, there is an element of being connected to the Edge Career Center. And that's really your first plug-in right there to get involved on campus. And, they'll go through your kind of resume, what you've been involved in, how that can connect to what we can offer on and off campus, what type of student employment opportunities are there so that you can start to build your resume as you're going to school. We see a lot of transfer students that end up coming through and joining us in admissions or financial aid, and they're starting to build their resume in different ways. But the Edge really does connect everybody very well, regardless of what year or when they come into the extracurricular piece, the alumni piece, and then also the what Brenda was speaking directly about. Yeah.
Thank you. Lynchburg.
Yeah, on our side of things, I find that really the biggest hurdle is just the stigma that if I didn't start it in my first year, I can't start it now. With us, we are working to get our transfer students connected in any way possible. There are very few, if any, clubs or organizations that they can't be a part of by not being here the first year. We do also make sure to run our involvement fairs the first week of every semester. That's where we get all of our clubs and organizations in kind of just a open style forum, so that way they can learn what's there, go talk to the tables and see what's interesting. So really trying to push our transfer students to make sure that they are making those connections, because again, we are very welcoming of first years and transfers alike with all of our groups. So just making sure that they know that they can be connected. And if they need help getting that connection, I personally do help them get through that first step of just making sure they know who to talk to about any of their personal interests.
Thank you. So the next question is really related to that. You all alluded to some of the ways that you support transfer students, and I would love for you all to expand upon those. So if you could, and I think we're starting with Randolph-Macon this time, tell us about how Randolph-Macon helps transfer students adjust to the institution after transfer. And this might be about orientation, housing, advising, other things.
Also, if I may, I'd like to start with just the recruitment and enrollment process itself, because we do, like many colleges, have a dedicated transfer recruiter, and Gabe is awesome with his students and working with them and helping them feel connected from the first time they come to talk with us. And so he begins to build those relationships with meaningful people on campus during the time that he's working with them to apply and make the decision about enrolling. And so then he sort of nicely hands it off to others on campus who will work with them specifically during orientation, particularly in the fall. The transfer students tend to be together. They will be connected, whether they're a commuter student or a resident student, they would be connected in those ways as well with other students, first year and transfer students. So some of the orientation to the campus happens specifically with other transfer students. Some pieces of it happen with students of similar interests or residence halls or that type of thing. So there is an office on campus who will work with the students through that first semester pretty strongly in helping them transition smoothly into the campus. It kind of depends, some transfer students want more assistance than others, and we don't want to be overbearing if they don't want a lot of assistance assimilating into the community. But on the other hand, if they want and need it, we want to be there. We feel like we're kind of those training wheels.
And just going off of what Brenda said about Gabe, he makes an intentional connection, especially with those students that have decided to live on campus. He's made an intentional connection with residence life because we want to be able to know the student, and he gets a very thorough understanding of the student, the needs of the student. And when we are talking about housing and where transfers are living, he makes a very intentional conversation with our housing director to know what is the need of this student. Who is this student going to be paired with? What year is this student coming in? Should they be with a first year? So there's conversations that do go back and forth between Gabe and residence life. And it just speaks to his ability to really connect with the transfer student population and know where they're at.
Thank you. Lynchburg, Savannah, and Christina, will you talk a bit about what you all are doing to help transfer students adjust?
I can start with that as well. So it starts off the semester before they get there. I am working with them one-on-one already. We are going through a thorough process of their credits that they're transferring in, their goals and their ambitions while they're here, making sure that we're getting them in the correct major. So basically having that deep one-on-one conversation before they even touch campus, making sure that we understand kind of where they want to go with that. Our goal is to hopefully bring back Transfer SOAR this upcoming summer, which is an orientation specifically for our transfer students, ensuring that they get a more specific orientation that is more directed towards them and their needs versus what a first-year student would have. As far as our residential side of things, we do also host 2 transfer experience houses. We offer houses around the campus as well as traditional residence halls. So we do have 2 transfer experience houses this year. Basically, it gives transfer students a way for them to connect because it's only transfer students allowed in those particular houses. So they are going to have somebody that is in very similar shoes to them, going through a very similar experience to them, that they'll be able to connect with that way. Throughout the semester, we do offer mentoring specifically for our transfer students. We do offer various events for our transfer students. So even if they don't feel connected to a club or organization yet, they still can feel connected to their group and their experiences. And just again, overall making sure that they are knowing that they are supported in their particular roles, but we are still also working to make them a part of the larger Lynchburg community and make sure that they do feel at home here.
Thank you. All right, thank you guys so much for sharing all of this great information. You know, I was a transfer student many years ago, and you know, I didn't know the name of the person that I was going to be connecting with. So I love that, you know, you all are referencing Gabe and Christina, that you're here, because these are the people that, you know, you students are going to be talking to. So it's always great to, you know, have a name or even a face to connect with. So I'm going a little off script here, but is there anything else that you all would like to add about your institution or the programs that you offer for transfer students that you'd really like for them to hear today?
I will just add one thing, and that is that sometimes transfer students have a bit of a lead time in knowing when they want to transfer. They're still at the community college, they're waiting a few semesters, maybe even 3 semesters or so before they come. Just know that we will work with you, and this is probably true of many of our campuses. Our Christinas and our Gabes will work with you to help select courses along the way that fit the best into the 4-year programs that we offer, because our goal is similar to yours in making it a seamless 4-year program, even though not all of your work has been done at the 4-year college. And we want to make that as seamless as possible for you. And so, connect with us early so we can work with you in making it that seamless experience. That's what we're here for.
I'm also going to go off script for just a minute because I want to highlight something that both Randolph-Macon and Lynchburg have done that I've been able to see develop over the last couple of years, and that's on the curricular side. So as those of you in attendance, many of you may know, we have common curricula that we've developed or we're developing in 30 different disciplines. And those common curricula ensure that students at any of our community colleges can be on the path to the major that they want to have. And in order for those common curricula to work, we need the input of our 4-year colleges and the faculty there, and we need to understand the majors at those colleges. And again, this is one of those things that our public 4-year colleges are required to participate in, and it's optional for our private 4-year colleges. And I've been repeatedly struck by working with the faculty from our private colleges, and I'm not going to name them here, but from both Lynchburg and Randolph-Macon, faculty who really want to make sure that that 2+2 pathway is available for our community college students and that they have access to the courses at the community college that they'll need in order to be on the path to completing their bachelor's degree, not just in a 2+2 way after they transfer, but also in a way that makes them feel very much a part of that the major community, the discipline community. I had a lengthy conversation with an environmental science professor, for example, who our environmental science courses were a little different than this private colleges. And he wanted to make sure that students knew that those courses would work in the program, even though they weren't identical to the courses in the program. So just a little shout out to both Lynchburg and Randolph-Macon and the work that your faculty are doing to make these paths possible for students. It really does reflect their openness to transfer students and their desire to have transfer students on the campuses.
Can I just say one more piece about that? You made me think of it. I often tell transfer students to just dive in and be fully a part of the campus and engage and connect with the faculty members and whatever programs. When you walk across the stage at commencement, there is no distinction between the diplomas that people get who were there for 4 years versus the students who were there for 2 or 3 years. You're all graduates, and so just dive in and make it your own. I think sometimes transfer students may hold back a little bit, and you don't need to. You're fully part of our campus when you come.
Okay, well, thank you so much. So we're going to open it up for Q&A now. We actually already have a question in the chat. If you all could talk about what each of your institutions do to support students with disabilities, and those students who are transferring.
I can start with
whoever-
Lynchburg.
Sure.
So at Lynchburg, we have our Center for Accessibility and Disability Resources. We call it CADER. And Julia Timmons is a great resource within that. Basically, if a transfer student lets myself or Savannah know that they have accommodations that they want to work with, they don't have to tell us the specific accommodations, of course, but just let us know that. We will go ahead and get them connected with Julia, and then Julia will work with them and their faculty members and any additional personnel on campus that needs to work with them regarding those accommodations to make sure that they are taken care of.
And it would be very similar at Randolph-Macon. We have the Higgins Academic Center, and students who need any kind of whether any kind of help, whether it is tutoring or it is some kind of accommodation, we would connect with you, with the students during orientation or before if you want to, and they would work with you to provide what you need to be successful in the classroom.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? And you're welcome to put it in the chat or come off mute.
Can you guys tell me a little bit again about your nursing pathways, or where you are in the process of transfer students maybe being able to get into your nursing program?
I can speak to that for Randolph-Macon. I've been dealing with it this week. We just graduated our first group of nursing students this last May or June. And so we are still in that accreditation process. We have a site visit coming up here later this month, and then we'll hope to have full accreditation in the spring. The state accrediting body is very, I would say, strict. They have said that until we're fully accredited, we cannot offer the nursing program to transfer students, but we anticipate that once we are fully accredited, we can do that. Our nursing students who come in the fall are not taking any nursing courses in the fall. So they're taking usually a biology course, but their first nursing course begins in the January term, and then they pick up after that. So we would want to, when we can bring transfers in, we would want to try to bring them in earlier than later. I don't know yet the answer to the question of when would it be too late for someone to transfer into the program. I'm not sure how that works yet, since we aren't admitting transfers yet, but we'll tell you when we know.
Yeah, and I'll get started just to give Christina a break for Lynchburg for a second and then let her follow up if I've left anything out important. But for us, with the changes that we've made to our nursing curriculum, we've been taking students in sometimes as sophomores, but usually as juniors, but then it's still taken them 3 years to graduate because of the way we had the nursing courses laid out. So starting in the fall of 25, that's when the new cohort will have all of the nursing classes packed into their last 4 semesters. And so they'll be able to come in as juniors and graduate in 2 years. And so there are 8 prerequisites that they'll need to have completed for that: anatomy and physiology 1 and 2, general chemistry with a lab, nutrition, statistics, developmental psychology, medical terminology, and microbiology with a lab. And they need to have at least a 3.0 cumulative GPA at the time that they come in. Once they are students here, our accreditation requires that they keep at least a minimum 3.0 GPA, or they could risk being dropped out of the program. They will, in addition, take 1 more general education class that everyone takes their senior year because it's a senior level general education course, but they would need to have met all of the other general education requirements and have all of those other things done by the time they apply to be admitted to the nursing major. But we're really, really excited, and I'm not sure the exact numbers, but our NCLEX rates just came out, and so we're looking very good. It's starting in the fall of 25. When we start taking transfer students again for nursing, the plan is to start taking them every semester after that, so that depending on where you are and what prerequisites you've gotten, you could come in and the timing will work out for you to be able to just join the program wherever you are and maybe graduate in December or graduate, at a different time. And now I will shut up and let Christina say anything else she wants to add to that.
Nope, that was a 10 out of 10 answer. Perfect.
Okay, do we have any other questions? These are great.
I have a request while our audience is maybe thinking about more questions to either put in the chat or unmute and ask. From both Randolph-Macon and Lynchburg, of course, students can find your contact information on the Transfer Virginia portal, but do you mind also putting into the chat, since people will be watching this recording, who you would recommend that students or advisors reach out to if they have questions about the process? Or, Brenda, you had mentioned it's great to get in touch early. I think that was sort of something that was directly or indirectly mentioned by all of you, in fact. So how do they get in touch early if they should get in touch early? So if you all don't mind putting that information into the chat, that would be great. But now I'm going to open it up again to any questions you might have. I do have one more question for you. You have mentioned, both colleges mentioned something about housing. But could you talk specifically about transfer students and housing? Are they guaranteed access to housing? Are they required to live on campus? How does that work at your institutions?
With Lynchburg, we do guarantee housing for all 4 years. A lot of our transfer students do choose, however, to live off campus, whether that is back at home, because we do have a lot of local students, or they decide to get an apartment off campus. But again, we do offer housing. They are not required to be in residence halls. Again, we do have the townhouses, we have the apartments, we have actual houses around campus, and that's where a lot of them do choose to go towards. Again, 4 years is guaranteed for us.
It's pretty much the same as what Christina went through on our campus. Housing is guaranteed for all 4 years, and we love our students living on campus to get immersed into the community, but there are different options while living on campus. So just like Christina offered, the townhouses, the traditional residence halls, there are singles, there are apartments, and they're scattered throughout campus. And then there's also the opportunity to, if they wanted to participate in Greek life, there are Greek houses on campus. And there's different opportunities for students based off of their interests. There is special interest housing on campus as well. So that is an option as well in factoring in there.
Thank you. So that question, the answer, I could have accessed it myself had I gone to our Transfer Virginia portal. So just a heads up to all of you, that the answers to many of these questions that I'm asking, that Emily's asking, and that you all are asking are available on the portal. And if you just scroll down here, I mentioned that both University of Lynchburg and Randolph-Macon are working towards being full partners, but there's a whole lot of information that you can get here by clicking on the Randolph-Macon tab, including, look at that, things about admissions and academic options and housing information in there. Same with the University of Lynchburg. So please feel free, transfervirginia.org, to look at these. We also have information added in the chat about how students or advisors can reach out and find out more about transfer admissions or the transfer process or getting ready to transfer. So I'm going to see again if there are any questions for our panelists. Okay, well, thank you to all of you for coming to hear about Randolph-Macon and University of Lynchburg, and Savannah, Christina, Brenda, and Kim. Thank you so much for joining us together and sharing information. You both have amazing institutions, and I really appreciate your sharing that with our prospective transfer students.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thanks for having us.